Hey, what's up, guys? One of my favorite parts about the baseball sim hobby is the literature that you find, especially if you look back into the past. This is especially prominent in the APBA journal in a way that's almost kind of unfair because I'm not aware of something like this in other publications from the time. We'll go ahead and just jump straight on into this. So this comes from the APBA journal, and my face has been lost here. So wait a second as I try to find myself again. There we go. This comes from the APBA journal in November 1975. This is an article that I actually just found the other day. There's all sorts of stuff in here that's interesting, including a article about playing APBA from the Delta Reporter in Gladstone, Michigan, right? You can find stuff like this in the old Strat-O-Matic, what was it called? The Strat-O-Matic publication from the time, which I have a number of issues of that are scanned, but it's not quite as full as the APBA stuff. And that's the reason why you might note a little pro-APBA bias, especially as we start looking through some of these articles. This is it right here from Ray Dunlap of Rochester, New York. So thank you, Ray, for this if you're still around and with us. And we'll just go through and sort of read this, I think, a little bit together and get kind of a feel for this somewhat hidden gem of APBA baseball literary scholarship. So this is called Last Roll. It's 8:00 a.m. on Saturday morning, and the alarm clock has been wailing for half an hour. A violent hand emerges from beneath a number of pillows and thrusts the clock earthward. Well, I guess I'd better get up and play those 36 games I'm behind, contemplates the weary inhabitant of the room. He rises to find that it is 8:05. Oh, nuts, he thinks to himself. I'm already 35 minutes late. If I only hadn't tried to pick up that waitress last night. Cards and charts are strewn all over the room. He clears off his desk with one quick sweep of the arm, sending papers and sporting newses flying in all directions. Now, what the hell did I do with my schedule? After a frantic search, he spots the missing item beneath a pair of not-so-unsoiled underpants. At once pleased with himself with his rapid discovery, he now turns to the more important business at hand. He reaches into his dirty clothes hamper for his fluorescent lamp and pulls an extra card table chair next to him to serve as a reference table for his multitude of extra tables, charts, statistics, pictures of himself kicking off for his college football team, and his breakfast. He settles down in his chair and begins to scan the room for anything he might have forgotten. His eyes soon focus on Jacob Burckhardt's The Civilization of the Renaissance in Italy, and a faint voice, so faint that it's barely audible, in the back of his mind tells him, "Don't you think it's about time you read some of that for class?" This preposterous notion is pushed aside, however, in favor of Street and Smith's official baseball yearbook. Reaching under his desk, he recovers the shoebox with his APBA cards, hereafter known as the cards. A close scrutiny of the schedule reveals that the first 3-game series to be played is between the Cubs and the Padres. Immediately, he fears that this particular twosome will not aid in his battle against sleep, so after bitter deliberation and consternation, he decides to play the Oriole Athletic series. He thumbs through the Athletics and notices that Sal Bando's card is missing. Oh, Christ. Now, who did Oakland play last? Fumbling through his bookshelf, he finally locates his folder of last week's games. They may be last week's on the schedule, but they're last month's on the calendar. He makes the proper adjustments, and it is finally time to play ball. Next, he turns his attention to the scorecard and begins to write down the names of the players. F. North, center field 2, F. Campa. Just then his mother enters the action. "Empty the garbage, will you? This is the last time I'm going to tell you." With Bert Campaneris suspended in midair, he leaves his domain to carry the burden of reality to the dumpster. One can be sure, nevertheless, that the remainder of the afternoon will be spent in an animated world of hit batsmen, strikeouts, grade A relievers, and the best sportscasting one ever heard. And if he can ever get the Oakland starting lineup written down, he may finish those 36 games. But even if he does not, there's always next Saturday. Many people complain about the overt simplicity of the APBA tabletop baseball game. This, they claim, makes it more or less a child's game, and they lose interest in it after a while. Why not make it more complicated, more diverse, they ask? Why doesn't the game rate hitters against right-handers and left-handers? Why don't fielders receive 2 fielding grades, 1 for throwing? Why aren't pitchers graded for durability? Why aren't pitchers given rest ratings to curb overuse of the better hurlers? All of these things and more people are claiming will make the APBA baseball game more acceptable to the knowledgeable baseball fan. It has always been my opinion, however, that the simple, universal format of the game has been one of its greater redeeming qualities. Anyone from 7 years old and up can play the game with reasonable dexterity, and each person can incorporate any of his own methods or inventions into his replay, whether they be simple or extensively intricate. In my case, each year I play the game, I discover new and better ways to undertake a replay and make it both enjoyable and interesting, yet keeping it realistic. When I first completed a replay, 1969, I used a very simple method of selecting pitchers. For one thing, I never bought the extra cards and settled on using 20 players per team. I made the first 4 pitchers on the roster sheet my starting rotation, and relievers would come on the basis of least innings pitched. Then partway through the season, I declared that during the second half of the season, if a team was winning going into the 9th inning, they could replace the pitcher with a reliever of their choice. This last rule is one of the few that has survived to this day. For the next 4 years, I started each replay with the same format of pitcher selection, but each of these seasons was aborted because I lost interest. Last year, I finally made a change. I allowed for trading, but the same problem arose with the pitching rotation, so I had to scrap that season. And that's the end of it here. Unfortunately, that's the end of the article. It seems that there's probably some bits and pieces missing. But I enjoy this sort of thing a lot. I really like sort of the imagery that's brought about in this article, and a little bit of the humor and a little bit of the unexpected aspects of playing a tabletop baseball game way back in the mid-1970s. It's a real fascinating thing to see, and it's kind of the sort of article and the sort of prose that I fear is kind of missing today in the internet era. We have a lot of things, right? We have blogs, we have message board posts, and we have stuff like that, but real creative writing, real ingenuity, right? Writing sort of as not just a reporting of what has happened, but more as sort of like an ode or a song to the game that you love to play. That's the sort of thing that I would like to see a lot more of. Love to know what you guys think about this and about this sort of form of writing, and you know, especially whether you know of anything else that's quite like this, because I love reading this stuff and would be more than happy to be entertained by it at least a little bit. And we'll leave it at that. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye.